Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to a video for Zombicide 2nd Edition. This video we're going to go over the Washington Z.C set, which is an expansion campaign. I also have the Fort Hendricks set sitting here, which we'll do a separate video for. But I have them both out here because they're both campaign expansions. So they're going to add new tiles, as well as some new survivors, and a couple other new cards and different mechanics, but the core of the expansion and how it's played is going to be the same from either one. So if you're debating on which one to pick up for the actual adding an expansion or adding a campaign mode and how the actual campaign works, they're going to do the exact same thing. It's just so your difference between one to the other is going to be if you have a preference over maybe locations or how the tiles are, like whether you want to be fighting like military stuff, or if you want to be fighting or in military survivors, or if you want more generic survivors, not generic, but not military, like civilian survivors, I guess, running around Washington D.C. And then how some of the different cards, they each have their own special weapon deck. And a couple other little twists in there, but for the actual purpose of an expanded campaign, they're both going to work and have the same exact stuff in them. Alright, so what we're going to do is, this will of course be a two-part video. Part one, we're going to kind of go over the book, we'll look at the tiles, and we'll look at the mechanics for the game. And then part two, we'll go over the cards and the survivors. So if you're more interested in that than how the campaign works, go ahead and skip to video 2. Alright, so Washington Z.C. This is an expansion campaign. As far as I know, the campaigns were something new that they started doing a 2nd edition. They also brought it in the Undead or Alive, which is the Western ones. It's kind of a neat idea. So of course we're going to get 6 new survivors, campaign sheet, some new tokens, your miniatures. We're going to get 2 new companions. You're going to get advanced starting decks, your advanced starting equipment, advanced pimp weapons, and advanced regular weapons, as well as special secret service weapons. And this is the deck that is different for each game. So this one, Washington has the Secret Service, and the Fort Hendricks one has a military one. And you're also going to get your tiles and some special objective cards. Alright, so what is the big differences in the two games? So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to swap out all of the decks. So if you're playing regular Zombicide, you just have all your 3 different colored decks. You're just going to take all of them, set them aside, bring all these in. These are, I believe they're all the exact same weapons and equipment. There might be like 1 or 2 things that are slightly different. They may have swapped out, like giving you like 3 of one thing versus 1 of another thing or something like that. But I don't think there's anything brand new unless you get to the Secret Service desk. And part of the reason for that is because they have the all-out dice, which are regular dice, except they have a break symbol on the number 1. And we'll look at that a little bit closer when we go through the things. So then now every card here is going to have 2 new mechanics on it. So remember, they're going to look like the same thing. So whether it's a starting weapon, Secret Service weapon, or if it's one of your regular equipment or a pimp weapon, they're going to have this all-out red symbol, as well as they're going to have, except for the starting weapons, they're going to have a lock symbol on there. So the all-out symbol, what it does is it lets your survivors and your players roll the all-out dice instead of the regular one, which gets them additional amount of dice. So let's the baseball bat roll 3 dice instead of 2, or the katana can roll 4 instead of 2, Glock gets to roll 4 instead of 1, or submachine gun gets to roll 6 instead of 3. So it definitely makes them a lot more powerful. But if you roll one, even one of the break symbols, which is the number 1, your weapon breaks and it's destroyed. It says, all dice do not be re-rolled in any way. Lucky, still, plenty of bullets, plenty of shells, have no effect on these, for example. So, basically your idea is you're just unloading with everything. You're full force of a swing, or you're just you're just cranking out the ammo on it. But because you're pushing your weapon to the max, there's a chance that it could break. So it says, player may declare going all out before any combat. In ensuing combat, player adds the written amount of all-out dice to the standard dice, then resolves the action. So now you're only adding those extra amount of dice, so like you're using the baseball bat, you're going to have 1 out of your 3 guys have the chance of getting that break. Not all of them. But that also makes like the Glock a lot more dangerous because you have 3 of them. And they just add dice and you basically do it as normal. If it hits the accuracy, it's met. However, rolling 1 or more breaks on any all-out dice, and only all-out dice, means your weapon is broke. Discard the weapon right after the combat is resolved. So you still get to do all the damage, but then your weapon's broke. Dual weapons are normally used, adding both weapons all-out pools together. Remember, it's all or nothing. Either you go all-out or you go home. Each break rolled means one of these weapons is lost. So both weapons are lost whenever 2 breaks are rolled. Yeah, so that's basically how that works. And then, of course, the guy goes through a little bit better detail all this. Yeah, so that's definitely a neat mechanic. So if you really are in that pinch and you need to roll some extra things, or like if you're using a baseball bat for a starter equipment, like, you know, hey, I have other better equipment. Maybe you might just want to, you know, hey, for the sake being, if you have both baseball bat and the katana, maybe just swing the baseball bat around with the extra die. You chance to maybe hit an extra time, you know, for 3 instead of only using 2 as a katana as a basic weapon. And if it breaks, oh well, now it's out of my inventory. Now I'll start using the katana like normal, as an idea. You could always do that and just worry about breaking your weapons. Then, with the keep icon, this has to do for when you're playing the actual campaign. So while playing a campaign, basically the campaign is a mode that allows you to play all 10 missions in a row, keeping your same characters or gaining skills and keeping cards from one campaign to the other. Essentially, you're playing a storyline instead of just 10 random missions. And you have a way to kind of keep stuff from one game to the other. So at the end of each game, you get a roll the breakout dice to try and get these. Keeping your equipment. It says players may want to play consecutive Zombicide game with the same survivors, or play a campaign like going featured. So you could use it in a regular mode as well. Or using regular missions, you don't have to necessarily using it in the specific campaign. So the keep value simulates equipment's durability, all survivors to keep some on to the next mission. Survivors' inventory is discarded at the end of each mission. Save for the equipment featuring a keep roll. So, if it doesn't have one of them, then you can't obviously try and keep it. Like basic items. Rolling them out of all dice equal to the corresponding value. If 1 or more breaks are obtained, the equipment is discarded. And malfunction or some sort before the next mission is lost. If no breaks are obtained, the equipment is kept. Begins the next mission with the equipment. Is automatically assigned during the setup in addition to starting equipment. Alright, so mixing game groups may result in not having enough equipment cards, giving a type for survivors. Besides which survivors receive the available equipment cards. So it's kind of neat. So if you have all these, like, if you roll, like, a machete, might be a little bit, I don't know if it's necessarily any easier or better, but machete you only have 2 dice to roll. Here chances are a lot lower versus the chainsaw or shotgun, which you have to roll 5 dice. The chance you're going to get 1 break out of 5 dice is potentially higher. But, that's the risks you take. It's kind of a neat little idea. So other things that are new to this mode, we have KO and RIP rules. So Survivor, usually classic Zombicide games are lost when Survivor is eliminated. This may not be the case if you're playing a campaign, although check the rules of the campaign because each mission might have a different thing. Survivor is not lost, after losing their last health point is considered KO but not dead. Lay down their miniature in the zone they're currently occupied and discard all equipment cards they've had. No keeps are allowed. Survivor is now considered an objective token until the end phase of the subsequent turn. So not the current round, but everyone gets a full another turn to try and rescue this guy. Be taken by a survivor and using as an objective token. If they're not, they're dead. If the KO survivor is taken, place your miniature on its own dashboard. Not dead, but cannot be used till the next mission. So they're still out for the entire mission if they die. But you get the opportunity to use them in the next game versus saying, nope, this guy's KO'd, I can't use him anymore. So it's a neat way if, like, you really like your guy, but maybe I took an extra hit, or Walker got too fast, or had a rush ability, it's just kind of neat. Says keep note of all survivors as a guide to make sure they aren't using the same campaign. So basically, keep a list, like, if, for example, Amy dies, you can't bring Amy back in a subsequent game. So dead survivors player may choose another survivor during the next campaign. Start the new campaign sheet, choosing another survivor rights and the loss of all equipment, experience, bonus actions, and campaign skills. So I'm going to skip to that really quickly. I'm going to skip over some of the new stuff and get to the campaign sheet. So in the campaign rules, we're going to get this specialty sheet, which we're going to earn campaign experience points. So the campaign sheet is used to track the survivor's individual progress. As the campaign begins, each survivor gets their own campaign sheet from the sheet pad to write down your hero's story. So you're going to keep track of equipment, cap, achievements you may have done. And then as you earn XP, you can start marking off these, and then you gain bonus things. So every couple of levels, you're going to gain one bonus action or a campaign skill. If you get a campaign skill, you get one of these blue level campaign skills to start with. Or you can choose to get a bonus action, which gives you one extra action per game. Which is per mission, but then it's always refreshed at the end of the mission. So that one extra action might be just enough to help you at some point. So if I flip to the next page, I think it goes into a little bit more detail on that. Yes. So the CXP bar, campaign experience bar, says each survivor may earn up to 2 CXP per mission, one for reaching the orange, one for reaching the red. Reaching ultra red levels doesn't count. And some missions may allow survivors to earn extra XP doing certain things. XP is kept throughout the campaign. Check the corresponding boxes as the reserves grow, reaching the indicated milestones. Earn rewards. Milestone rewards are immediate and use the turn in which they're required. So as soon as you hit orange the first time, you gain 1 experience. If that would give you a option to either have a bonus action or a blue skill, you can go ahead and check whichever one of them want, and then now you have access to that for the rest of that mission as well. And then campaign skills. Choose them on the list. Corresponding skill is going to be acquired once. From then on, the survivor gets the chosen skill at the blue level in addition to any other blue levels. So that means they start off each game with more and more abilities. So it could make them very effective early on. But doesn't give them any more of the ones they earn on their actual card. Or you can get bonus actions. Survivors earn a free action to spend any way they want once per mission. So here it says Ashley got, in the example here, got +1 bonus reward 3 times over the course of the campaign. She has up to 3 bonus actions to spend during each mission. So this isn't 3 per turn. This is only 3 the entire length of the campaign. So it might not sound like much, but there could be that one instance where you're like, I rolled bad, I didn't kill everything, so either I have 1 extra free action I can use. You can kill them, or you can use that to run. It might just be enough with that 1 or 2 extra, and you may as well use them because they go away at the end of the turn, and then or at the end of the mission, and then they refresh the next mission. And then you have your little box for marking which equipment are kept, and then campaign achievements as well, which some of them just give you special XP or different rewards for that. So I only bring all that up quickly because we were talking about the KOing of survivors. So if you are playing one particular character or survivor and they die, you if you can rescue them, you get to keep all your campaign stuff. But if they die, you have to start a new character and you have to restart. So if you're on mission 5 of 10, and your survivor dies on mission 5, and you lose all the stuff you've earned the first four things. Now, if you either have to replay mission 5 or you beat it and you guys go on to mission 6, now that guy, you have to start a new character, has to start completely over. So there is still a hefty cost to losing your survivors, because then you have to restart all your campaign stuff. Now, one amendment to this that's not in here, but it's in the Undead or Alive, the Western one, is they have a thing called a posse. They added in that rule, which basically, as you rescue companions or different people throughout the campaign, you can add them to your group. So if one of your character dies, you get a collective, your posse or your group in that, just to keep all your campaign bonuses. So that's something you could apply to this as well. If you start with one survivor each, and then as you go through, if you do something, you put some way on there like rescue people, whether you just put them randomly on the boards or do some way of adding that into the game. You could potentially, campaign 2 or 3, you could, each person could maybe get, 1 or 2 other extra characters, and then you could have some backup characters. So that is a potential to do as well. But adding it to here would be like a house rule. Alright, so the other brand new thing for the campaign sets are the clock and night rules. So you're going to have this little timer clock here, which works as a first player token. So every time the next, you play through a turn, zombies go and you pass it to the next player, you advance the clock 1 hour. And you can see there's day and night. Yellow are day, black is night. And the night have special rules. So while it's night, the line of sight for zombies are limited to range of 0, so they can only attack people specifically in their spot. And the line of sight for survivors is 0 to 1, so they can't shoot any farther than 1 space in front of them. Ranged attacks will now have an accuracy of 6, regardless of what your card says. So they can still hit, it's just going to be really hard to do. Because they can't really see farther above it. So automatic successes like throwing Molotovs still apply. And game alternate effects still apply, like +1 die roll and all that stuff. We can do light sources like flashlights. Flashlight have the light source keyword, and maybe used to illuminate the zone. You're going to get this little flashlighty token as well. When a flashlight is turned on in these circumstances, survivor spends 1 action to turn a flashlight on, performs a search action and chooses to use their flashlight, declares a ranged attack at range of 0-1 and chooses to use their flashlight. A beam of light is set before the ranged action is resolved. To put a beam of light straggling 2 zones, the survivor and another Jason notes. So either you can just opt to do something with your flashlight, either a search action or a ranged action, or you can opt to just turn it on if you want. And then anything that's illuminated now doesn't suffer from these penalties anymore. So the flashlight's turned off in the instance you opt to take action to turn it off, or you trade or discard a flashlight, and then you remove the light beam. So when the light beams are subject to the following rules: actors may trace line of sight through them normally. Ranged actions are no longer affected by accuracy penalties. Now there's one other thing. It says right before the zombie phase, any zombie having a line of sight on 1 or more light beam immediately performs an extra activation. Then the classic zombie phase is played out normally. Each zombie may get an extra activation. Keep in mind that light beams can be seen very far, as actors may trace a line of sight to them normally. So it's kind of neat. So it does let you, during the night times, it lets you eliminate your penalties, but it also attracts the zombies. So they're showing on the first example there. His line of sight is eliminated to 0 to 1 and runners are nearby. He may use his shotgun against them, but chances are with accuracy 6, it's going to be hard to hit. So he turns on his flashlight for free while using a ranged attack, and resets the accuracy back to 4+. It says now these runners on a line of sight are limited to range 0. They didn't see Anton or Angel across the street, and their path is only defined by noise. Since Anton turned on his flashlight, they can now see him. So now they're going to go towards him because they can specifically see him. Otherwise, they would have been attracted to the noisiest things than to be able to see him. Being a survivor, Angel has a line of sights. So Angel is down here. And a sniper at accuracy is 6. As the illuminated runners, he now has a line of sight as well and may fire without penalty. So because he can see that light, it eliminates his line of sight to those runners now. So now he can shoot them normally. Even though he's not in the full line of sight, he can see them lit up, so he knows where they're at. But due to nighttime's line of sight, the fatty has a line of sight to the runner's zone, so he can see these guys. But he can't see, if he still has a line of sight, right before the zombie phase, he'll perform a free action, but will move towards the noisiest zone, regardless. So they see the beam, means they can activate, but they won't necessarily go towards the beam of light, which is kind of counterintuitive. Yeah, so this guy can't see anybody. This guy can't see anybody, but now he can see this beam of light. So he'll get a free action. These guys will get a free action because they're in the line of sight. But then over here we have Tess performing a search action using her flashlight in an additional zone. But she places it towards a wall. And since it's at a wall, the beam stops right there. And they can't see it because it hit a wall and it didn't go any farther. So that's kind of a unique thing to do too. You also can get free actions as well, like to move around. Like at the end of your turn, you can choose to move a different direction. So like here we have Minnie performs a move on her second action. She moves up, as she moves the light towards these zombies so she can see them, and then she fires them without the penalty. Then for her fourth action, she's going to move the other direction, and since she still has her flashlight on, so she could have spent one action just to shut the flashlight off, but she wants to get away from the zombies. So she's going to use her fourth action to move it this direction, so it's not facing the zombies anymore. And now because of that, right before the zombie phase, zombies check for line of sight. Only this walker has line of sight this way. This one no longer can see that because it only goes up and down. It doesn't go diagonal. Now, if she would have stayed right here, this guy would have got to activate as well. So yeah, or if she would have rotated and kept the light facing that way, he would have got to activate. So yeah, it's kind of a neat idea. You have to, based on how you want to move your stuff around. Alright. Other new stuff in here are Secret Service cards. These are special items left by the Secret Service, which are going to be found in special symbols on the board, which you can search to have the Secret Service symbol, which is kind of like a star. Or you can check the Humvees, and they might have some in there as well. The Humvee itself is, all survivors to search for secret weapons cannot be driven. It's not a vehicle. I mean, it's a vehicle, but it's not like a car. There are also corridors. Some tiles in the Z.C set feature corridors with lush red carpets. Corridors work much like street zones, is unlimited through the corridors, and you cannot search corridors. So basically they're streets essentially, but streets inside a building. So they're like long hallways, but they work like a street. And then we have sandbags. Sandbags help slow down zombies without interrupting a line of sight. Sandbags do not interrupt line of sight, so you can see over it, zombies can see over it, you can see each other. Survivors can move across without penalty, but a border that's fully closed prevents zombies' move step. They refine their routes around it. So in the example here, it's going to show this zombie here can see Justin, Justin can see him. but he can't cross over this sandbag, so he's going to have to go all the way around. Now, this one here can see each other, even though there's a sandbag right there. It's not blocking the full tile, so they'll just activate like normal. And then now we got these guys down here. So now, although they can see each other, Ashley can still shoot this zombie, but this zombie cannot move towards and cross over there. So the only way they're going to be able to get to him is they literally have to go up and all the way around. But they can't get to Ashley anyhow because they can't go through the tank and they can't go through this. So it says, the runner has a line of sight to Ashley but cannot reach her anyway unless the runner extra activation occurs. In that case, it will cross the sandbags. So if they get the extra activation, they can go ahead and hop sandbags. They're ignored, but just with a single activation, they can't get over them. But yeah, this guy's not going to even bother to move because he has nowhere to go. They're also showing here just the division between grass and streets doesn't matter. It's just another zone. There's also a tank on the board. Tank prevents line of sight and movement unless climbed upon. The tank is an obstacle printed on tile 10B. Tank interrupts line of sight to all actors not standing on it. Actors standing on it can trace the line of sight normally. And they may exit it with the standard move or step rule. So basically, a survivor can climb up on the tank and shoot down from it, but zombies can't get around it. Survivor may move onto a tank at the cost of one additional action. They're considered to be standing on it. Getting off the tank does not cost an additional. Tanks prevent zombie move step. They redefine their route around it to reach their destination. This rule is ignored during extra activation. A tank is not considered an obstacle in determining the zombie's route, and they'll try and move on. Zombies may then stand on the tank. They may get off without a penalty. So kind of like the sandbags, if they have an extra activation, they can use that to get over obstacles or tanks. Otherwise, they can kind of stand on top of it. Alright, so that was a lot of the new stuff there. So, other thing to add for campaign mode are objective cards. So objective cards, instead of having the little chest tokens on the board, you're going to place these cards on the board instead. So instead of just having a regular objective, which is like, oh, find this red crate. The red crate does this. You're going to actually specifically find out these cards. This might be a small shop or a reinforced building. And then when you search that objective, you're going to flip this card over. It's going to have story text on the back. Give you some different things to do. Might be options, might be more objectives, might give you experience, might be a zombie. You don't know. Pimp crates will appear like normal, though. And it's kind of neat because the cards like blend into the border, so they actually fit like whatever the area is going to be on the table. So, for example, in this setup, it's going to show where all these different cards go, and then you can kind of like match the orientation of the card based on how it fits in with the artwork. But you're still going to have your pimp crates out, all your spawn zones, and then sometimes you'll have note cards. Each of the 10 campaigns has its own set of cards. You're going to take them like regular objectives, and then you just resolve the card. Alright, so that was basically that. And then there's all the different missions. So like we start off with Infected State, Facing the Impossible. So like there's showing where all the different cards go and kind of their orientation, and things like that. And then we have 10 different missions. And then on the very back we have some brand new skills for our survivors, which we will go over in part 2. Alright, so for the second part of part 1, we want to look at all our different tiles. So here we're going to have, so it's going to start with 10R, which will continue from the base game. So this is going to be our White House we have our Secret Service spots on the board. So you can see there's multiple on some of them versus usually just one objective and one thing. And that's also nice is because with them objective cards, because they'll cover up these spots, if you're not using the objective cards, you just want to have this as a regular whatever campaign or regular game or whatever, you can definitely just use that. And then I also like the fact there's stairs. So you could use stairs to have this go up and down to separate tile sets. So you could have like these 3 tiles here and then like 2 more somewhere else to do like a different floor. It's just kind of a neat idea. And then on the opposite side we have the tanks. Now this could be a set I could to some extent see buying a second set of tiles for. So that way you have more outside stuff, or maybe a bigger outside thing with the White House in front of it. I also like how the rooms are differently designed. So like here you can go here to here and here. But then this is its own separate room, which has exits on the top and the bottom. Definitely a neat thing. You can make some really long hallways. And there's some more some different Humvees you can go to. A couple of sandbags, depending on how you place those. There's another stairwell. Like this. Own little room in the back corner, kind of hidden off from everything. There's 2 different stairwells on this one. Here's another different office. It could be like a basement floor that you got to instead of the upper floor. Like people being dragged out. Lots of different little rooms. Instead of like some of the other games where there's big giant rooms. And here's somewhere you have a couple of outside, like into the inside. There's some more different inside rooms. This one's nice and connected. Coming through this one, you can go into that one out that way, or come down, leave out this side, or come out and leave out this side. And then you just got this random room by itself that you can't really access. Definitely fun, different stuff there. Of course, we have to have the Oval Office. Some different exits on either side. Door right in the front. No Secret Service spot on this one though. And then we have like the other little Oval Office. So this is probably the actual Oval Office. This is probably just like a waiting area, I'm guessing. Showing how much I actually know about that. Yeah, definitely a bunch of funny, interesting tiles. And then the last one, which have another set of stairs. Some more outside stuff. And then some more office areas. Kind of cool, like a server type room. Definitely cool. And now you could argue the day-night cycle is maybe you could argue if you're in the building, you don't have, I mean, not per campaign rules, but per your own rules. As you don't use the night rules if you're inside the building, you could assume there's lights on in the building. That's entirely up to you. Alright, then we have our flashlight tokens and our time dial. So you get 6 flashlight tokens, essentially 1 for each player. And then we flip them over, they'll have the same thing on this. I wish they had like the half one that they kind of showed in the book. That would have been kind of neat. That way you could have put one at the extractor of the building to show us half. The missing part here is the tank. So the tank is its actual own tile. No, sorry, this is not a tank. This is the Humvee. So you have an extra Humvee you can put somewhere else. Again, this might be, for me, a reason to almost buy a second copy of the game. Just because you could get the extra tiles, you get an extra Humvee. I just like that kind of stuff. Then, if I can get this open, how they put this. Then we have the dice. So they're like a maroon red, little like bullet holes on them with the one side being the break symbol, and those are your all-out dice. And we'll look over all the cards and all that stuff in the part 2 video, as well as we'll go over the campaign sheet and look at some of the abilities a little bit more. But that's what we have. So all that stuff's going to be kind of the same exact thing for the Fort Hendricks set, which we'll check out in another video as well. See you guys in part 2. Bye.